Good morning, listeners. You're welcome to this week's Ag Report. I'm Jim Finn. My guests later on this morning are Anthony Fitzgerald, who is the enterprise manager for County Tipperary, Eamon Carroll, who is the deputy president of the Irish Creamy Milk Suppliers Association, and my final guest this morning is Jackie Lacey, who is the director of the Holy Cross Ballycal Drama Group's production of Sive. My first guest this morning, listeners, is Patrick O'Donoghue from Teagasc, and Patrick is going to be giving advice with regard to sucklers. Good morning, Patrick, and thanks very much for joining us.
Good morning, Jim, and good morning, listeners.
Okay, good to have you on. Now, as I said there, you were going to talk about sucklers and the management of sucklers. So, Patrick, where are we going to start? When the calf is born or just before?
Yeah, so look, I suppose for some suckler farmers there now at the moment, I suppose they're in the heights of calving. For more, they're just about to start. I suppose between the end of the month, March will be a busy time for a lot of suckler farmers when it comes to calving. So I suppose we'll just kick off, I suppose, at the kind of point of calving, because I suppose look for the likes of pre-minerals and a lot of that. I suppose a lot of it has been implemented at the moment. So look, just in terms of those cows, I suppose that are springing up close to calving. Look, a lot of farmers might be keeping cows on either slats or cubicles, so it's just trying to get those cows out on a clean, dry bed of straw, maybe 2 to 3 days in advance. Look, farmers will know their system when it comes to calving. But again, look, it's hygiene, I suppose, plays a big role when you're dealing with freshly born calves on the ground. Again, I suppose another one is that your facilities are functioning correctly. So like your calving gates are crucial when it comes to difficult calvings. And again, I suppose having your checklist completed. So again, for a lot of farmers that have started calving, they'd have went through this already, but farmers didn't on the point of calving, that they have the likes of calving jacks, ropes, all those kind of things, we'll say, as part of the calving checklist in order for the start of calving. So they become some of the key points there, we'll say, coming up to the start of calving, Jim.
Okay. Now the calf has been dropped. This is where it gets interesting. So what's the management from there to maybe when the calf eventually is able to look after himself
Exactly.
or herself? Yeah.
Exactly, Jim. So this is crucial, then we'll say, for a suckler farmer, because I suppose, look, we know where the beef prices went, and each of these animals are very valuable. So look, again, the key target there for suckler farmers is to try and achieve the one calf per cow for the year. And again, look, colostrum has a huge part to play here. So it's, I suppose, trying to follow that 1, 2, 3 rule as part of colostrum management. So your first milk, and ideally from the cow, will say that the calf has been born again within 2 hours, and a minimum of 3 litres. So look, ideally for a suckler farmer, if that calf is up within 20 minutes, half an hour, and drinks for itself, it takes a lot of the pressure off the farmer. But it's those couple of calves that might be slower to get going. Again, the sooner the farmer intervenes, I suppose, it makes all the difference, because again, the better the quality of the colostrum, and the quicker it gets into the calf, the better chances of good health status going forward. So again, look, for some farmers, if they have the Briggs refractometer, even to test a couple of the earlier calving cows, they can check the quality of the colostrum. So 22-23% minimum there is what you're trying to achieve. And again, I suppose if some of the cows are coming below that, maybe for the later calving cows, going in with maybe a bit of soybean can make all the difference. But again, when that calf is born, it's good quality straw, and plenty of it, we'll say, so that the calf is a good dry lie, and a clean lie, more importantly. So again, another point there is just, I suppose, iodine or chlorhexidine, just to try and get it in on the navel. So ideally maybe dipping, but look, again, spraying is sufficient, and I suppose it's trying to avoid joint heal and some of those diseases in that case. So that'd be, I suppose, the main one with the calf, Jim. And I suppose we might just touch in a bit on the cow herself,
Yeah.
whereby, I suppose, look, it's all about nutrition, and I suppose modern ability there for the first couple of days with the cows. So I suppose you're trying to keep notes, and I suppose those good quiet cows will say that are well able to look after their calf, and that you have to intervene as little as possible. Look, from a farmer point of view, I suppose safety is crucial around calving. So again, you want to, I suppose, try and have a gate or something like that. We'll say that you have something between yourself and the cow when you're dealing around the calf. And we'll touch off a couple of points there that farmers' routine tasks that they need to do as well. But I suppose just on the nutrition itself, then again, look, I suppose 66, 68 DMD silage is plenty good enough, we'll say, for the dry cow period. But when that cow is coming close to calving, and particularly after calving, especially with the weather we have at the moment, not being able to maybe get out on grass, high quality silage, 70 DMD plus is what you're looking to feed that cow. If maybe not available, look, a bit of meal is no harm, because again, I suppose it's a crucial part in the calf's life is the first couple of weeks of age. Mm-hmm. And yeah, look, that'd be a couple of key points with the cow herself, Jim.
Yeah, and staying then, going back to the calf, you have the tagging and the registering and all that to be done as well, haven't you?
Correct, yeah. So essentially, I suppose there's a couple of key things then to keep in mind from a paper perspective with suckler farmers, no more than dairy farmers registering calves. Again, I suppose within 20 days, every calf needs to be tagged, and within 27 days of birth, so a further 7 days there to register those calves. So look, ideally, within the first 2 weeks, you'll be trying to keep on top of each of these tasks, because again, look, it's a busy time period, and it can affect, we'll say, schemes as well. So like late registered calves won't qualify for some of the suckler scheme payments, so you want to avail of all of those as well. Another one, I suppose, is this budding of calves, Jim. So again, up to 14 days, it can be done without local anaesthetic. But between 14 days and 28 days, so 2 to 4 weeks, local anaesthetic must be used. And after 28 days, then we'll say it's a veterinary practitioner that needs to come in. Look, I suppose less commonly maybe on the suckler side in terms of the castration of young calves, we'll say. But look, there is still some farmers that might do it for various reasons. And within the calf's first week of being born, we'll say the rubber ring can only be used. After that, again, castration needs to be completed, we'll say, at a later stage, we'll say up to 6 months of the calf being born. But look, again, a lot of suckler systems now, they're leaving them run as bulls, whether that be for finishing or selling as bulls through sales.
Yeah, and what about then, I suppose, parasites and trying to control parasites? I know probably in the early part of the year, as far as the suckler animal is concerned, it's not an issue, but as you move towards, we'd say, the wetter parts of the late summer into autumn, parasites become a problem, don't they?
Correct, yeah. So look, I suppose the good thing with the suckler system, I suppose, is for the first maybe 6 months, the calf is kind of dependent a lot on the milk from the cow, we'll say, to achieve the average daily gains. But during that summer period for spring-born calves anyway, you're kind of hitting a period where they're starting to intake a lot more grass, we'll say, and I suppose they're coming under a little bit more strain. Again, I suppose, look, visuals and watching out for signs of coughing for the likes of lungworm. Stomach worms, I suppose, is a big one with suckler calves, and again, maybe going in with a treatment. Ideally, after taking maybe a sample of dung and getting a fecal analysis would be the best way of going about it, Jim, to treat for parasites. But again, look, I suppose going back to the calf, it's more the likes of pneumonia and maybe IBR. Some of those will say if a farm has pressures from that point of view, the likes of vaccines are readily available there. And I suppose maybe discussing with your vet no more than the likes of pain relief, I suppose, when it comes to calving, having a good chat with your vet around these areas, so that I suppose if you need to implement a vaccine program, or say you're having a few difficult births, maybe due to maybe a new sire, will say, not knowing his calving difficulty, that I suppose that you maybe have the likes of a farmer themselves with advice from a vet can give non-steroidal anti-inflammatories to cows and calves, I suppose, just to aid the transition there, we'll say, from calving up until the stage where the calf and the cow are up and running.
Right, okay. Now, you anything else then that you would advise any suckler farmer beyond what we have already discussed this morning, Patrick?
Look, I suppose for the time of the year that's there, we'll say, and look, it's a hard time of the year this spring now to try and get stock out. So look, I suppose just going back to the safety element is paramount. So again, it's trying to achieve a successful calving period, because again, what calves hit the ground this spring will form the basis of the income for suckler farmers going forward. And I suppose it all needs to be done in a safe manner. So look, it's a busy time period, and I suppose just trying to avoid taking chances is crucial there, Jim.
Okay. Now, you have an event coming up next week. Can you tell us
Correct.
a bit about that particular event, Patrick, please?
Yes, look, there's a spring grazing walk taking place there next week. Look, it's on a dairy farm, but look, spring grassland management is particularly important across all grassland systems. So it'll be open there for all farmers to attend. Look, the details around it, Jim. So next Wednesday, the 25th of February at 11 a.m. The spring grazing walk is taking place on the farm of Brendan Phelan in Folkestown Feathered, so south tip. The air code there for anyone looking to attend, E91FK84. And I suppose topics there will include selecting paddocks for early grazing, your early nitrogen, I suppose touching a bit on grazing during difficult conditions, which definitely are there this spring, Jim.
Yeah.
And I suppose keeping water quality in mind when it comes to getting out nutrients, because again, look, I suppose the likes of slurry is a big one this spring.
Yeah, definitely. There's no doubt at all about it, and farmers are finding it difficult to get it out. Not getting conditions for it.
Correct.
Okay. Well, look, if that's all, thanks very much, Patrick, for your contribution this morning. That, listeners, was
Thank you, Jim.
Patrick O'Donoghue from Teagasc, giving us some advice with regard to suckler calves.
Thanks, Jim.
Listeners, my next guest this morning is Anthony Fitzgerald, and Anthony is the head of Enterprise in the county here in Tipperary, and Enterprise Week is coming up. It starts off on Monday, the 2nd of March, and it's a big event for the Enterprise office and, needless to mention, Anthony as the head of it. So we're going to have a look at some of the events, if we can't get them all in, at least some of the events that are going to take place during Enterprise Week across the county. Good morning, Anthony, and thanks very much for joining us.
Good morning, Jim, and it's a pleasure to join you, and thank you for the opportunity to give your listeners and the public in Tipperary an opportunity just to get a feel for the programme of events that we have lined up for Enterprise Week, which, as you point out, runs from Monday the 2nd of March right through to Friday the 6th.
Let's start off. What's going to happen on Monday the 2nd, Anthony?
Yeah. On Monday, we've a business advice clinic in the library in Clonmel. So if you're thinking of starting a business and have a business idea and don't know what to do next, you can meet one of our business advisors to hear what sports are available and to set you on the program or the journey of researching your business idea and seeing what's available in terms of walking you through the process and being put in contact with the right kind of mentors and advisors to help you build that business plan or build that idea out, hopefully to a successful launch. Also on Monday we have an introduction to self-employment, and we have a business advice clinic in Tipperary town as well, in the civic offices in Rosanna Road. On Tuesday then, one of the highlight events for the week is digital transformation and AI for small business. That's happening in the Abbey Court Hotel in Neenah, where we have the founder of AI Ireland's Mark Kelly delivering a practical overview of how AI is being used for SMEs, or the small and medium enterprises. The acronym for that is SMEs. But anyway, the morning will include live demonstrations of how to use the most impactful tools. It will include an overview of how to prompt with the persona context command format, which is what Mark and his organization, that's their software and their methodology. Also, there's a specialist speaker on the day, Dr. John Cosgrove from TUFS and the Irish Digital Engineering and Advanced Manufacturing Institute. So John has worked across the SME sector, and he also works with the multinational sector, the FDI sector, across the county and region, and he'll bring a lot to that event as well.
Right, and there's a business clinic then in Roscrea that day.
Yes, in the new shiny offices of Reach in Roscrea, which were officially opened middle of last year. A great project there, and so one of the rooms there is being used as a venue for a business advice clinic in Roscrea, and again, business advisors will be at hand to help guide people on the processes involved and where to go to next with their particular ideas.
Okay.
Also,
Yeah.
sorry.
Okay. Sorry. Go on.
Um, Also on Tuesday we'll be announcing a National Enterprise Award finalist. That's an event that takes place in the Mansion House each year in the beginning of June, and so a company is being chosen from the county to represent Tipperary, and it's kind of a showcase of across the 31 local authorities and local enterprise offices of the type of projects that are happening in the different counties in June. So we're picking a finalist for that.
That's good, Anthony. Then we're moving on to Wednesday.
Yeah, the Talbot Hotel. We've a very innovative and interesting presentation from Pádraig O'Malia. He's worked with the Tipperary Local Enterprise Office and other offices around the country. He's a Galway man, native Irish speaker, but does a lot of work, motivational speeches and work psychology, business psychology. So Pádraig will be teaching and coaching on his 30-day year proposition, which is basically a methodology of where a business owner focuses on the important pieces of their business and creates efficiency in terms of their approach to how they run their business and getting in the right mindset for different situations. So that'll be very interesting.
And of course, the business advice clinic that day is in Thurles.
Yeah, the Source Arts Centre in Thurles. Again, I suppose we're very fortunate across the county, Jim, with Reach and Rosanna Road in Tip Technology Park and the Source Arts Centre. It's good to bring business advice clinics in our kind of in our important week to good locations that we have across the county. So it's on the Source Arts Centre on Thurles on that day.
And you have an event then on digital marketing on that particular day as well.
Exactly, yeah. Evan Mangan from the marketing crowd, that's the name of the company. It will be asking people, and what should I be focusing on in terms of digital marketing, and it plays a huge role in any business these days, whether they're small, medium, or large. AI, search engine optimization, which is getting in front of your target market, social media and video marketing, they're a huge part of any business these days.
Okay, we move on to Thursday. You have
Thursday,
a retail
yeah,
symposium.
yeah, in the Cashel Palace in Cashel. So industry experts, Pádraig McMahon from Carrickdown, Dr. Ronan Doherty of Retail Ireland, Skillnet, and Peter Cockery from Digital Transformation Consultant will be guiding through essential topics to enhance your skills and transform your business on the retail side of it. And that's a very important part of the economy in the county as well. So it's important during Enterprise Week that cover the whole area of retail and give some general advice from the experts as to ways that retail businesses can improve their business. And it is a challenging time for a lot of business with the amount of online sales and so forth. So, and the lifeblood of our town centres and so forth depends on a healthy retail sector. So that's a very important event to take place during the week.
And you have a regional event then where you join forces with Clare and Limerick.
Yeah, well, Tipperary is part of the Midwest region, which incorporates Limerick and Clare. So this is being held over in the Castletroy Hotel in Limerick, and it involves the Enterprise Europe Network, Irish Exporters Association. That's a network of enterprise organisations across Europe, so that if a company is thinking of exporting to France, for example, there's a ready-made network of people that a company can contact to get some local knowledge and guidance on either technical or commercial issues.
Okay.
An important part for exporting companies.
Fine.
Also on Thursday, we've got the Business Advice Clinic in the library in Nina. And then on to Friday, I suppose one of the biggest events for the week is, two. There's two on today. I suppose there's a Student Enterprise Award, which is a very important part of the calendar on that week. That'll be in Toulouse and Thurles, and nationally there's 400,000 students to take part in that, and it's a key learning skill for anybody involved in secondary education, knowing how businesses work and what's involved in marketing and what's involved in running a business and the basis of a business plan. No matter whether you end up in business or not afterwards, that's a good learning to have. And Tipperary schools and the teachers and parents have been very active in that space over many years at this stage, and we've had a lot of, well, everybody that takes part in it is a winner. We've a lot of winners at national level arising out of the county finals and so forth. So, and then also on Friday we've Entrepreneurs Day and the Question Leadership Enterprise and Innovation Summit in Queston Clonmel. So there's a real strong lineup of former CEOs and current business people there. So the likes of Fergal Leamy, who's former CEO of Glendon Dimplex, Gary McCann, former CEO of Smurfit Kappa Group, one of the biggest companies in packaging in the world, and John Maloney, former managing director then of Glanbia. So they'll be giving some senior advice, if I can put it that way, to the business community. And there's a wealth of knowledge. That's a pretty unique gathering of that sort of business brain and experience anywhere in the country. I'd say it'll probably be one of the biggest events nationally for Enterprise Week. And then we've got more recent companies that have partaken in the Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year competition, which was won by a Queston company in 2024, Shoreline College actually. But some of last year's finalists and one from a company from 2023 are partaking in a panel discussion there, and again just sharing their insights of starting their business, growing them, access to finance, the issues they now face as they grow and scale, and imparting that then to younger startup businesses, which hopefully will be in their position in 5 or 10 years' time, and looking back and hopefully saying, well, I got a nugget of information out of that event, or I met somebody in, networking right across the week, whether it's student enterprise, business clinics, the various events happening, the networking and the ability to talk to other businesses is probably uppermost in all what we're trying to achieve for that week, because it's by collaboration, discussion with people, being able to pick up the phone and ask them, I have this situation here. Can you? What would you do in that instance? That's the key to particularly to young startup businesses, because typically a business starting up, there's a lot of passion, energy, and that's what drives the business forward. Long hours and dedication, they put heart and soul into it. But the guidance can be so crucial from previous business leaders or people with lots of experience. It never ceases to amaze me how ready experienced people are willing to share their knowledge and expertise as well. So we're really looking forward to the event on Friday, and we're also looking forward to all the events during the week.
Now, somebody wants to go, and I'm looking at your Clár here in front of me. Booking seems to be essential for most of the events.
Correct, yeah. So, I mean...
How does somebody book, Anthony?
localenterprise.ie/week, that'll bring you straight through to the programme.
Right.
And then there's linkages on the programme page. So it's just a case of clicking on the Booking Essential underlined link on the programme, and that'll bring you straight through to the registration page.
Okay, well, we're out of time. I wish you a very successful Enterprise Week in 2026. That, listeners, was Anthony Fitzgerald, who is the head of enterprise here in County Tipperary.
And can I just finally say, Jim,
Yes.
before we go, just a thank you to all the staff in the offices, both in Clonmel, Nina, and across the county. It's going to be a great week of events and voice, but there's months of work goes into preparing it properly, with lining up the speakers and all the arrangements goes into it really. So I have to credit and thank sincerely our staff in the offices for their part in making it all happen. I have nothing to do with this, Jim. It's all done by the staff, and I get the credit in of speaking to your good self at the end of it.
Listeners, my next guest this morning is Eamon Carroll. And Eamon is the Deputy President of the Irish Creamy Milk Suppliers Association. And Eamon is with me. We're going to have a little chat about the current situation with tuberculosis, particularly hopefully here in Tipperary. And also, you may be aware that there was an ERSI report on tuberculosis in the country, and Eamon would like to make some comment with regard to that. Good morning, Eamon, and thanks very much for joining us.
No bother, Jim. Thank you very much for having me.
Good to talk to you. First time you've been on with me, another Tipperary man. Where in Tip are you?
Just outside Thurles there, Lochmore. That's where I'm from.
Lochmore, man. Lovely part of the world, Absolutely. And of course, you are a milk supplier and you are milking. So I won't hold you up too much. The middle of calving, I presume, and things like that at the moment.
Yeah, sure. It was a busy time in every yard now at this stage. Yeah. Now we would traditionally be started that little bit earlier, so we're getting near the end of ours now at this stage, thank God.
Oh yeah, well that's good. Some nights sleep, so coming up.
Yeah, well, sure. Look, it's part and parcel with the job, isn't it?
Indeed, it is. It can't be done without having some very, very late nights, and we haven't been able to get to the stage when we can get cows only to calf during daylight.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we are. Anyway, what is the current situation, Eamon, with regard to tuberculosis across the country?
Well, sure. I suppose last year, be it in 25, was one of the highest on record of having TB in the country. You know, we hit a herd incidence of just 6.04.
Yeah.
So there was just 41, just over 41,500 reactors in the country last year. So it's gone to an alarming level. And, one of the things that we had certainly be calling an ICMSA for within the department was what some people refer to as TB 2.0, which was a complete reset of where TB is at, As well, a fellow Tipperary man, TB actually started out as a pilot program in the 1950s in Clare. Mm-hmm. And, we're battling with the disease ever since, and it is an EU regulation. Mm-hmm. So here we are going into its 76th year, and the herd incidence is going in the wrong place.
Right, and of course everybody and everything is blamed for it going in the wrong way, aren't they?
Yeah, they are, and I suppose that's one of the major frustrations with TB. So it's not, there's no silver bullet in terms of dealing with it. When you look at other parts of the country, or say in the past, it would have been always, the bovines and badgers, and that cross. Mm-hmm. But there's other parts of the country, particularly over the last number of years, where deer has been a massive, massive problem. Wicklow just being one of those counties, Waterford being another, so it is spreading, and it's not, per se bovine animal to animal. So it is spreading, and it needs to be got under control.
Right. Okay. Last year saw a revamp then, in which yourselves and the IFA and other organisations sat around the table with the minister. Are you relatively happy with what they came up with?
Look, it how would I put it? Depends on what measures they're actually going to implement. Like, you mean, paper never refused ink, and we've heard, things in the past, like, that their ambition is to do X, Y, and Z. Like, you mean, we can all be ambitious at times, but, we need action and proper action on the ground, in terms of tackling this disease. But it's not going to be, how would you say, the farmer in particular has been asked to put their shoulder to the wheel. They are not going to resolve TB on their own. It is going to require quite a number of people putting their shoulder to the wheel in terms of getting this over the line. So whether it's biosecurity, whether it's the department, communications, the farmers are always playing their part and have done so, but it's just not enough. So it's going to, as I say, require a lot of various different factors coming in to try and resolve the problem.
I've seen they've already had one climb down on one of the measures that they had hoped to implement. So because of the difficulty that would actually cause to farmers who are trying to move cattle. So, and of course, the movement of cattle plays into the fact that tuberculosis is probably going from one particular area of the county to another, or one particular area of the country to another. Is there any light on the horizon that we might get there by maybe 3035 or thereabouts?
Look, there's one thing for sure and certain, that we have seen. We have been asking the department numerous questions in relation to, where TB is going at the present moment in time. And one of the things that probably struck us the most is when we've been asking questions around, metric in terms of whether it is biosecurity, whether it is vaccines, whether it is, various different things. They were very, very slow in giving us information. How do you deal with a problem unless you know where the root cause of it is, and start working from there? And one of the things that we have been very, very strong on and are still is for the department and ourselves to come up with a plan, a 5-year strategy to looking and seeing where the problems are, use the data and the science that we have, and implement those that are having the greatest effect. But then again, there's other measures there that are having very, very little effect, to some of them having no effect at all whatsoever, and remove those and stop putting the burden in front of farmers that's having no effect, and try and drive this thing on, that we are, you'd like to be looking back at this in 5 years' time as to say, geez, that worked, whatever else that. Let's strengthen that, over the next number of years and try and deal with it.
Okay. What's your comment then on the ERSI report, which seems to support some of the issues that you have around the eradication of tuberculosis?
Yeah, sure. That report it wasn't of any great surprise to us. We're consistently listening, to our farmers on the ground, when we're holding meetings and otherwise, and phone calls and that. And the biggest frustration that's there with farmers, in particular, is that when an outbreak does come their way, is the fear of the unknown, not knowing what happens to them. When are animals being removed? What's the procedures and the protocols, the communication from the department, and all that. So that's probably one of the biggest things that came from the ESRI report. But as I say, look, it was nothing really new to us in that regard.
What would you say then to any one of your members, or even any farmer in Ireland, and in particularly here in Tipperary. What would you say to them with regard to tuberculosis and trying to control it within the confines of their own farm?
Well, again, when you look at the research that was done, so just I suppose to give you a broader view of it. So the ESRI research was interviews that was done with 60 farmers right across the country, you know, from different herds and different regions in Ireland. And within those interviews that they had done, came four prominent things, and those were, you know, that if you had an outbreak, you know, what is your experience of it?
Yeah.
What were the barriers to eradication, which is the question that you're asking, and the attitudes around the perceptions of biosecurity, which was, you know, very much so. And the last one was around communications from the department. Anyone that will be asking us in terms of what it is, it's very, very hard in various different areas. And I'll give you an example of that. So if you go down to, one farmer was telling me in Waterford one night, we were below at a meeting where he said deer was the problem. And I'd asked him to know, was there many deer? So he said, going back a number of years ago, that when they had deer outside in his back field, they were coming down from the forestry into it. There was probably 8 or 10. And I said, has that increased, you know, a bit? He says, Eamon, if you go out and look at it now, he says, you actually won't be able to count them. There's something in the order of 200 plus.
Right.
Grazing fields there at the moment. So while they have a massive problem with deer, you know, other areas in, you know, parts of Tipperary or otherwise, it's the badgers that is the problem.
Yeah.
You know, so it's very, very hard to pinpoint it, Jim, as to what it might be, you know.
Oh, look, we're not going to solve it today. I just want to thank you ever so much for joining us, Eamon, and sharing what knowledge you have about it. And let's hope that whatever we're doing currently will in some way give some solace to farmers, because there's nothing as bad as an outbreak of tuberculosis on an Irish farm.
There's not, Jim, but I'll just finish on one point. One of the interesting things that came from the ESRI report as well was that 80% of those that were surveyed believed that it should be mandatory to provide information on the history of animals from somebody that would be purchasing, or that would be selling them, you know, so the purchaser would be more informed. We thought that was very, very interesting research that was also done as well, you know, within those farmers. So of those that were surveyed, there was 824 people surveyed. I thought it was a staggering figure that came out of it.
Okay. Well, we'll leave it at that. Eamon, thanks very much for joining us. That, listeners, was Eamon Carroll, who is the Deputy President of the Irish Creamy Milk Suppliers Association.
There's a count of a match for Sive.
For Sive? A match? Are you going simple, woman? There's no sense or meaning to you. She's only a child, still going to school.
She's old enough. The grass had 20 cows, a farm free of debt, money ratting there.
She has no fortune. What farmer of that size would take her without money?
He'd be glad to take her money or no. Will you think of the 20 milch cows in security for the rest of her days?
She is different. She has book learning. She'll turn a deaf ear to matchmaking. And I'm her uncle. When my sister died, I gave my word I would stand by her. The girl is too young. She has no father, and I have responsibility.
Was it your fault I asked you that your sister died? Was it your fault she gave birth to a girl or was too free with men?
That little piece you heard just a few seconds ago comes from John B. Keane's Sive, which Holy Cross Ballycal Drama Group bring to the stage in the hall in Holy Cross on next Friday and next Saturday evenings at 8 o'clock. And with me now I have the director of the play, Jackie Lacey, and Jackie is going to tell us a little bit about the history of Sive, a little bit about the times in which it was written, and again, how different today is to the day in which Sive was first performed in 1958. Jackie, you're more than welcome.
Jim, thanks a million, and thank you very much to your listeners for tuning in this morning to hear about our forthcoming production, which we're really excited about in Holy Cross. It's our 60th year as a drama group. Holy Cross Ballycahill Drama Group have been in existence and in strong existence for the last 60 years. So it's quite poignant this year that we're doing Sive, because this is a play that we would have done a number of times in the past, and obviously your listeners will be familiar with John B. Keane's work and understand how much loved it is throughout the country. I suppose it's one of the most performed pieces of John B.'s works, and it's certainly one that appeals to audiences and the amateur drama groups throughout the country. So, as you were saying, it was written by John B. back in the 1950s in Listowel, and he sent it originally to the Abbey Theatre in 1958, and it was rejected, much to his dismay. So John B., being the man he was, didn't lie down, and he gave it to the now famous Listowel Drama Group, who produced the production and put it on the road for the amateur drama circuit in 1959, and lo and behold, it won the All-Ireland that year. And I suppose John B. was quite happy to be then invited to the Abbey Theatre to perform the production, or have his play performed up there as a result of winning the amateur drama competition. So I suppose with that in mind, it's always a play that resonates in amateur drama groups, and is certainly a play I've grown up with and really love. And it's a privilege to be able to direct this year's new revival of the production here in Holy Cross.
Yeah, and Ireland was a very different place back in 1958.
Well, certainly at the time John B. wrote this play, he recalls the basis, or the bones of not the bones, but certainly the basis as to why he wrote it, was that he had heard in the pub, the local pub in Listowel, a gentleman looking for where he could buy a cheap wedding ring, and John B. assisted him and gave him guidance on that, but was very upset subsequently when he saw the man in the town with his new 17-year-old bride, and it was something that I suppose upset him and formed the basis for what he later wrote about. So yeah, 1950s Ireland, a very different time. He may have based it a little earlier than that, but it was an Ireland that was very poor economically, mass emigration. Women's rights were effectively non-existent at the time. A woman's place was in the home. There was Catholic church domination at the time. And morals and sexual liberty, I should say, wasn't really talked about or accepted. And of course there was that dreadful phrase at the time, which I absolutely abhor, for a child that was married outside wedlock. He or she was referred to as illegitimate, which is to not exist, which is appalling and a very poor reflection of any society at any time in life. So yes, 1950s Ireland, and even before that, was difficult, and Keane explores that in his play Sive. So Sive itself, the play, tells the story of a young girl called Sive who lives with her uncle Mike on a small land holding in Kerry. She's orphaned, and Mike resides there with his mother and his wife. And a plot is hatched between his wife and the local matchmaker, Thomasine Sean Rua, to effectively sell Sive to a wealthy farmer, significantly older than Sive, for financial gain. And the roots of that end in tragedy. And for those who haven't seen it, you can certainly come and see what happens at the end in Holy Cross on the 27th and 28th of February.
Okay, so it is very different. How do you feel that, there will be people here in the auditorium in Holy Cross over those 2 nights, and I know you're also putting it on for the schools, particularly on Monday and Tuesday, that's the 2nd and 3rd of March, you're putting it on. How do you think young people today will view Sive?
Well, I
They've
suppose,
never seen it before.
Yes, I suppose it is on the Leaving Certificate curriculum, so many of the 6th and 5th years throughout the country are studying Sive or have the choice of studying Sive for their Leaving Certificate. I suppose what I can say is many of the themes in the play haven't aged. There's the issue of morality, there's the issue of love, the issue of tragedy. They're all themes that last eternally. And I suppose what they will find is the difference between women's liberty now and a number of years ago, and how that has changed, and I suppose the increased freedoms women still or now have in society, as opposed to nearly 70, 80 upward years ago, when things were very much different and more restraining for women. So that would be something of interest. It will also show them the poverty of the country at the time and the lack of choice, I suppose. We're very lucky now that we're in a society that is more open to choice and freedoms, and that was something that may not have existed to the same extent back then. I suppose the downside of it, back then we were without social media, we were without telephones, we were without all of those distractions. So the pressures that now exist in society didn't exist back then. So from a student perspective and from a young person's perspective, it will be very interesting to sit down and even to look at it, the setting of it, and to see how people lived, which is very authentic in this production. The difference between then and now will become more evident from looking at it as opposed to reading it from the text in front of them.
Right. Now, you're also bringing this play onto the festival circuit in the open section of that. So are you looking at that as maybe a breakthrough for Holy Cross Ballycal Drama Group as far as being in an open group? I know they have 2 plays already done in that particular thing, but this play is very different.
Well, I don't know if breakthrough is the right word. It's a challenge for certain. We were privileged enough under the directorship of Claire Ryan to win the All-Ireland Confined section back in 2019 with the Beauty Queen of Lannan, and that entitled us to compete in the open section, the Big Boys Club, for the first time the following year. So, this is our 3rd production in the open section, and I suppose we're all hoping that things may go our way and that we may qualify for Athlone, which is the holy grail of amateur drama in this country. So our 4-night run here in Holy Cross, we're here on the 27th and 28th of February at 8 p.m. And we're also here Monday the 2nd and Monday the 3rd of March for schools, but there are seats available for the general public if you're interested in coming along, or if there are any parents out there or family members who have students that might be interested in coming themselves without going to the schools that have already booked in. Those seats are available. But certainly it's our pre-circuit run effectively before we hit the road in competition, and we're starting that, Jim, on the 6th of March. We're heading down to Ballyduff and Waterford on the 6th of March, and then we're in Doonbeg, County Clare on the 8th of March. And the following Tuesday is Castle Island. No, not Castle Island, apologies. We're in County Kildare, followed by Castle Island, County Kerry for the Kerry Drama Festival, which will be very poignant.
And that's only half of them.
That's only half of it, if we survive that long.
Okay, we'll survive, don't worry. Okay, it's nightly at 8 o'clock.
Yes, and look, we'd really, really love your support. The festival run brings a number of expenses, and we depend on the public to come and to support our production for the purpose of getting the show up and on the road. So please do come along on Friday the 27th, Saturday the 28th of February, 8 p.m. Tickets on the door here in St Michael's Hall here in Holy Cross. And if you can't come on the Friday and Saturday night, there is also availability on the Monday and Tuesday, the 2nd and 3rd of March, same time, same place.
Okay, well, look at Jackie. Thanks very much for joining us this morning. That, listeners, was Jackie Lacey, who is the director of SIVE, being performed by the Holy Cross Ballycal Drama Group. And Jackie has given you the dates. Next Friday and Saturday, no play on the Sunday, and we have on again on the 2nd and the 3rd.
And finally, listeners, you might be interested to hear that Jim himself is in this production and is on stage starring as Sean Dota, who's described by John B. Keane as a hardy thief with a mad mind for the women. So that's worth seeing in itself.
That, listeners, is Agri Report for this week. I hope you enjoyed the show and that you'll join me at the same time next week. Coming up next is the news at 10 o'clock, and after that, Eamon Dewar presents Down Your Way.